All right, ready to go live. All right, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where and when you're watching this live. This is the voice and the face of Dr. Tolo Lebinton, CEO and founder of Living Spring Family Medical Center here in the good city of Mansfield, Texas. And I'm very excited to have another discussion today that helps our patients live long and well because we believe the quality of life is just as important as the quantity of life. So, yay, today we'll be talking about the question or the phrase, Doc, I've had cancer before. How do I minimize the risk of having it again? And I am so honored and excited to have the one and only Dr. Minako Abe. Thank you so much for coming. She is the Lifestyle Medicine Director and Vice President of the Tokyo Cancer Clinic. I am so honored to have you here. I'm excited. So, thank you so much for coming. I know you're busy and it's a different time zone where you're at, but thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm a great fan of you and all that you're doing for your patients over there in Texas. And I think you're a fantastic doc. So whoever's watching this, go and see Dr. O, as she's well known as, because she's wonderful. And I'm so honored to be here and talking to you today.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Now, I already introduced your name, but please tell our viewers, for those who are watching live, remember hashtag live. Those who are watching replay, hashtag replay. It helps me acknowledge you. But tell people who are watching, who are you and what do you do?
Okay, so I am Dr. Minako Abe. I'm a dual boarded emergency medicine and lifestyle medicine physician in the United States. And I practiced for like over 15 years in the US. And now I run the Tokyo Cancer Clinic. So what we do here is we do regenerative medicine with cancer. So regenerative medicine is basically a type of medicine where you treat yourself with your own cells. So that includes stem cells, that includes your own immune cells. And this is how we treat cancer with cancer immunotherapy. So it seems like a big leap, right? From emergency medicine to oncology and immunotherapy. I lived in the US for over 30 years. And I lived here as a child in Japan. So the reason why I came here, it's kind of a crazy story, but I loved emergency medicine. I love practicing ER, and I practiced in New York City for many, many years. And even though I loved it, I started to realize after a while that 80% of what was coming in through our doors was actually preventable. Whether it's infections, whether it's trauma, whether it's drug and alcohol related. There's something we have to do, right? We have to catch these things earlier on. So that brought me to lifestyle medicine, because a lot of what we do can really impact our disease, right? Especially chronic illnesses like high blood pressure and even cancer. Cancer is 30 to 50% preventable. So, there's a lot that we can do. And I think a lot of people just don't realize that they're like, oh, it's just my genetics, or, it just diabetes runs in my family. But what people don't realize is there's so much you can actually do. So that brought me to lifestyle medicine. So now, in addition to providing regenerative medicine and immunotherapy to our patients here, I coach and counsel patients on how they can change their lifestyle to really prolong their life and improve the quality of their lives.
I love that. I love what you do, improving the quality of life. And I like how you emphasize that we actually have a say-so in some of our health outcomes. And for those of you who don't know, I'm sure I'll put it at the end of the live. I get a weekly email from her where she talks about some of these things. I follow her on social media, and she's really amazing what she shares on how we can actually help prevent all of this. But I don't want to digress too much. My next question is this. On the topic of cancer, we already know that the risk of cancer increases with a history of cancer. And so how does one battle with that threat? Let's start with the mindset. I see patients who are coming, doc, I've had cancer before. The doctor told me that there's a chance it could come back. I'm nervous. What can I do? How do you address that from a mindset standpoint, doc?
Absolutely. So that's a great question. And mindset has a lot to do with your immune system. So a lot of cancer has to do with your immune system, right? Because we all have cancer cells that are just floating around in our bodies, right? And precancerous cancer cells. And what keeps those cancer cells at bay from just growing out of control is our immune system. We've got immune cells that are just circulating around in our bloodstream all the time, just searching for abnormal cells. And if it finds an abnormal cell, it will go and kill it. So most of everything that we do in terms of lifestyle and mindset has to do with boosting our immune system. So mindset is key because, a lot of this, I'm sure, you've heard stories of people who like just lose the will to live, right? Or their loved one dies, an elderly couple that have been together for 50 years and one person dies and their partner is soon to follow, right? And that's all has to do with the will to live. And, I don't mean this in some sort of like woo-woo sort of way, but definitely mindset does matter. And, the scientific way that you can think of this is when you're stressed, when you're worried, what happens? Stress is chemical, right? And your stress hormones definitely go up. So that's your adrenaline, your noradrenaline, your cortisol. Like these are all stress hormones that are released from your body when you're feeling stressed out or when you're worried. So if you don't address the mindset and the worry, then you have these stress hormones, these chemicals that are running around your body, and those actually can inhibit your immune system. So that's why it's really, really important to take care of your mind, to take care of your body, obviously, but also to take care of your mindset so that you're less stressed, that you're connected with other human beings, whether it's your family and your friends, like all of that. And having the will, the will, your why, knowing why you want to be healthy, and knowing, having the will to live and the will to be healthy. And that's what helps sort of heal your body as well.
Well, knowing your why and having a will to live, knowing your why, knowing your why. Well, I'm hoping and praying for everyone who's watching here that you have a good why. You have something tangible to hold on to, because that's very important. All right, now you talked about this, and I like how you answered. You kind of answered the next question I'm going to ask. I was going to ask, what is cancer in layman's term?
Yeah.
We know it's this thing that could be scary, but you explain it. But how would you explain cancer, how it works,
Yes.
and why it's an issue?
Sure. So, as human beings, right, we're made up of trillions of cells, right? And all of our cells, they have sort of a cell turnover, right? Cells get old, they get damaged, and then they have to sort of regenerate itself. And in the meantime, right, we're being bombarded by all sorts of things, by, UV radiation, certain toxins in junk food, pollution, all of these things. And mistakes are made, right? When all of our trillion cells are, fixing themselves and regenerating themselves, sometimes errors slip through. And as you accumulate lots of these errors, genetic errors, epigenetic errors, epi just means that there's certain controls, control switches, and you have something called oncogenes, which are cancer genes. So that's why a lot of people say, well, cancer just runs in my family. So there are certain genes that run in people's families that make you more likely to get cancer.
Okay.
But not just, there is a risk, but it's not 100%
It's not
because you
absolute.
have, yeah, it's absolutely not absolute. Like even, Angelina Jolie, who said she had 60% chance of ovarian cancer. So she decided to have surgery to remove her ovaries before they became an issue. And she removed her breasts before they had an issue because she had a chance, because she had a mutation that her mother had. So she knew that she was at risk. But even that risk was like 60%, right? Or 80%, depending on the type of tumor. So it's not 100% because you have these things called epigenetics, right? They're basically like an on and off switch,
Switch.
right? And these on and off switches can be controlled by your lifestyle. So, it's not 100%. You can live the perfect, clean life, eat nothing but organic vegetables all your life, right? And exercise all the time and get enough sleep and do all these great things. Even though, that improves your risk. But, errors are made. So sometimes you can live a 100% clean life and still get cancer. And you can be a smoker, drinker, all your life and never exercise a day in your life and just eat junk food and never get cancer, right? But your overall risk can be controlled in a very big way. by how you treat your body, because we only have this one body, right? This one life. So out of these trillions of cells that are constantly fixing themselves and regenerating themselves, sometimes mistakes are made. And these cells, their genetics, their oncogenes, their cancer genes get turned on, and then they start to just multiply and multiply and multiply, and your immune system can't keep up with getting rid of the defective cells. And so basically that's what cancer is.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for explaining that. My next question to you is this. Can someone eat to prevent cancer? Because you talked about lifestyle. So we're going to delve into that. What are things you could do to prevent cancer? And let's start with like how you eat.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I like to think of things in, just different pillars of lifestyle medicine. So eat, sleep, move, and relax. And eat is definitely one of those things that people are always concerned about. Like if you've had cancer, you're like, oh gosh, how should I be eating? And there are definitely lots of foods that have been shown to have anti-cancerous activities. So these are things like mostly fruits and vegetables, right? They have lots of phytonutrients. They also have fiber. And fiber is super important because that's what feeds your gut bacteria. And your gut bacteria is a modulator, right? 70% of your immune system actually resides in your gut. So if you don't have a healthy gut microbiome, then you won't have a healthy immune system. So it's really important to feed those gut bacteria and to feed basically it's like feeding your immune system, making your immune system strong. So fruits and vegetables, things like, broccoli, kale, onions, garlic, tomatoes, mushrooms, like all of these natural healthy vegetables are super, super good for you. So things that are not so good for you would be things like processed foods, like hyper processed foods, just refined sugars. These are things that have been associated with an increased risk of cancer. That, alcohol, smoking, of course, um, processed meats. So unfortunately, things like bacons and hams, you want to minimize that. And I never say never, right? I think there's a place and time for everything. It doesn't mean like you should be on a zero sugar diet. Because we all celebrate with the food. We love food. It's a way of expressing love. But, you want like 90% of your diet to be good, healthy, nourishing foods. And then,
I'm going to pause you real quick because
yep.
sometimes when I'm having conversations with patients, it sounds like I'm a little too tough. I usually say 80, 20%. You said 90 and I didn't say that. Okay. I usually say 80% of the time, try to eat healthier. But you've hit a lot of very, very important points. The processed meats are carcinogenic. They encourage cancer formation they encourage cancer thriving. I just wanted to emphasize that, and I did tell her to say that. I just want to encourage us who are watching. When we understand why we do what we do, it makes it relatively easier to adjust.
Absolutely.
To adjust. All right. So we talked eating. Next, sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
Oh no, yeah. So just to top off, like things like meats, processed meats, red meats, right? Processed meats are 100% shown to be carcinogenic. So you really want to limit that. So, if you want to have, your one hot dog at your 4th of July or Memorial Day, a barbecue, right? But you really, that's like, there's your everyday foods, there's your sometimes food, and there's your rarely foods. And that should be like one of your rarely foods, right? In terms of meat and red meat also, too much red meat has been associated with the risk of especially colon cancer. And so for red meat, they said, 500 grams or less a week. So 500 grams, that's like, let's see, like one serving size, which is like a deck of cards, of meat, or a deck of Post-it notes, I guess. That's like 100 grams. So you want to have less than this 5 times a week, which is not that big an ask, I don't think, right? So obviously less is more. But even in terms of red meat, processed meats hardly ever, and red meat you want to try and do 500 grams or less a week.
So. Awesome. All right, next questions. Lifestyle hacks. We talked about the food part. What are lifestyle hacks or quick tips? Because we want what's easy, right? We want something quick. Of course, not all the answers are going to be easy in that sense, but what are quick lifestyle hacks that you could say are good to prevent cancer?
Yeah. Okay. So going back to like the eat, sleep, move, and relax, right? With the eat, well, most people know what you want, what you should be eating, but the hardest thing is to actually do that, right? So my lifestyle hack, what I tell my clients, is that, if you have a plate, right, have half of your plate be fruits and veg, a quarter of your plate be protein, clean protein if possible. It could be plant based, it could be, you know, meat, meat or fish, and then one quarter be whole grains. So if you kind of follow that rule, one half fruits and veg, one quarter protein, one quarter whole grains, then that you're sort of getting a healthy meal, and it's a lot easier than, um, you know, doing all that measuring and weighing and counting calories and stuff like
Right,
that. I think
right.
that's an easy way to approach that. So that's eat, sleep. Sleep is one of those super underrated things, and you and I have colleagues and friends that
Yes.
concentrate on sleep. I mean, it is so important, right? Because everybody wants to, once you put the kids to bed and everything, like everything settles down, you just want that time to yourself,
Yes.
sitting in front of the TV with a glass of wine and watching Netflix or something like that and unwinding, right? But is that really being the kindest to yourself? Right? You do feel like, oh, I'm just, I've had a hard day and I'm just wanting to wind down and be kind to yourself. But the next morning, how much better do you feel if you actually just said, you know what, I can skip my show tonight. I just want to go to bed early. Like you feel so much better in the morning than if you had stayed up. And just the way Netflix is made, it's like it's made to binge watch. One episode bleeds into the next. And if that show is ended, then it gives you an idea for another show to watch, right? So it's so easy to just do that. But sleep, it's like you have to get excited about sleep. You have to prioritize sleep because it's easy to get excited about staying up, right? It's less easy to be excited about going to sleep. But it's like, get yourself excited. Like, oh yeah, I got 8 hours. I'm like, I feel so good. And if you start to prioritize and um, get excited about sleep, I think that makes it a lot easier. So that's sleep.
Hmm.
Move. Exercise is also one of those things that, like, if you exercise, your chance of getting recurrent cancer goes way, way down. Like for breast cancer, if you are a breast cancer survivor or you've had breast cancer and they say, okay, you're clear,
Hmm.
your chances of it coming back go down by like 50, 60% if you regularly exercise. That's like better than any drug that you can give, right? And it doesn't have to be a lot of exercise. It's basically moderate exercise, which is like a good pace, fast walk, where you can still talk and carry on a conversation. Um, so 150 minutes a week. So that's like 5 30-minute walks, in a week. And, all of us could squeeze that in, right? And you can even break it up. You can even chunk it up in like 10-minute spurts, and
Hmm.
that's been shown to be just as good. So, 10-minute walk in the morning, a 10-minute walk at lunch, and a 10-minute walk after dinner, and you're done, right? So that's another hack. Um, and then relax, eat, sleep, move, relax. And that goes back to the mindset that we talked about in the beginning of the
Hmm.
conversation. It is so important to put ourselves first, to de stress, because there's lots and lots of evidence that the more stressed you are, the longer you have these stress hormones circulating in your body, the worse your immune system can function, right? And there's lots of evidence about like your mortality, just like your risk of dying from anything is higher the more you carry a lot of long-term stress. And I think this all has to do with your cortisol and your stress hormones impacting your body, because what happens is like when you're stressed, it's like you're in that fight or flight mode, right? And the fight or flight mode is great. It's something that's needed. Like if you're crossing the street and a car comes towards you, you want to be able to jump out of the
Right,
way. Right?
right.
So it's something that was evolved within us to protect our bodies. But nowadays, it's not that just immediate stress. It's just like chronic stress. the chronic stress of, having to take care of, let's say, an elderly or sick parent, or the chronic stress of work, the chronic stress of money, all of these things that we carry along long term. And our bodies weren't meant to handle that for that long period of time. So it's great if it's a short term thing where you're trying to move out of the way of a moving car and you've got that burst of adrenaline, you've got that
Right.
burst of cortisol, your blood sugar goes up because your body's getting prepared to run, run out of the way out of an attacking lion or out of the way of the car.
Right.
Your blood pressure goes up. But what happens when your blood pressure is up for a long, long time, right? You get hypertension. What happens when your blood sugars are elevated for a long, long time? You end up with diabetes, right? And stress has a lot to do with that. So it's really, really important to take care of those stressors and put yourself first, and to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you go and try and help somebody else, right? Like when you're on a plane, you say, the oxygen mask comes down, always put it on yourself first, because then you can't help others if you're not replenished, and if you don't take care of yourself first. So.
Very, very important. You said a whole lot. You said a lot of gems, and I'm glad we're kind of taking note of that. And someone made a comment here, Mr. Robert. He says CLL remission 6 years as of last March. Very, very happy for you, and I hope you stay in remission. Now, Doc, I was going to say, someone is watching this and saying, you know what, Doc, all this sounds good, but I'm not sure I'm able to commit to this, or I'm not sure I have the time for this. How would you encourage such a person who's saying, I've had cancer before. I'm really anxious about getting another one, or a repeat diagnosis, but I'm not sure I can commit to this. I don't even know where to start. I actually feel a little overwhelmed knowing
Yeah.
all the things I should do and that I'm not doing. What would you say to that person who's listening?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, life happens. It's hard. It's hard. Everybody has all of these things that we feel like we have to do. But again, I think it's getting back to your why, right? Taking a pause, especially if you have had cancer, right? There's very few things in life that hits you so hard and is so life changing than being told that you have cancer, right? So if you let it, I think this can be actually a really good opportunity. No one would ever wish cancer on anyone, right? It's one of the hardest things that you have to go through. But if you've had cancer and you're blessed to come out the other side and be told that, you are NED, right? There's no cancer that we can see in your bodies right now. We all know that we have a risk, right? All of us in a lifetime, 1 in 3 men, 1 in 3 women will have cancer at some point in their life. 1 in 2 men will have cancer at some point in their life. So this is like a real thing for all of us, right? And if you've had cancer in the past, then you're definitely more likely to get cancer in the future. So I think to take stock and say, okay, what is the most important thing to me right now? Right? Will we, in 20, 30 years, look back on our lives and say, oh yeah, I wish I had worked a little harder, or I wish I had, made, a little bit more money. Or, most people look back at their lives like, no, I wish I had spent more time with loved ones. I wish I had. And then, we only have this one body in our lifetime. In this life that we have here on earth, we only have one body. So we have to take care of it. And if you want to, fully enjoy this one life that we have, I think it is so important to sort of revisit that why. What is the most important thing to me? And I don't think it's going to be, taking that extra job or that extra responsibility. I think it's like really taking care of yourself so that you can enjoy this life that we have, and have the quality of life that we have. Spend the time that you want with your loved ones. And in order to do that, it's like you have to prioritize yourself first, right? And so I think that is your why. And then if you're having trouble getting started, just taking things little tiny steps at a time, right? Instead of saying, okay, well, I'm going to go on this big diet and just overhaul my whole diet. That's tough, and it doesn't usually last. So instead, like starting with, I'm going to have an extra serving of fruits and vegetables, every day. Just start with that. And when that becomes a habit, then you can start saying, okay, you know what? I'm going to cut out that bacon from my diet, right? Doing all of that all at once is really hard. So taking it little step at a time. Or even if oh, well, I can't spend 30 minutes a day exercising, just say, okay, well, start from where you are. Just do a 10-minute walk after dinner every night, and start with that.
I
And then
love
once
it.
you start, once you start building those good habits, right, then it starts feeling bad when you don't do them. Like, not bad, like you shouldn't beat yourself up if you can't do it because life gets in the way, but you're like, no, you know what? It's just like, oh, I just kind of feel kind of sludgy today. Oh yeah, maybe it's because I didn't take that walk last night, or I'm just feeling such fatigue. Oh, it must be because I didn't get the proper sleep that I did last night. It's like, oh, I stayed up too late watching that show. And so if you start connecting the pieces and just pay attention to your body, what feels good in your body, I think it's easier to make those little stepwise habits and make them stick.
Awesome. This has been so rich. Thank you so, so much. I love that you said it. Start where you are, one step at a time, a little bit at a time, one habit at a time, one introduction of a new fruit or vegetable at a time, one good habit at a time. And there's something that I don't know if some of you who are watching can relate to when they say put yourself first. I struggle with that, and I've had patients tell me, "Oh, doc, you don't understand," and I say I understand the hesitation with that, but I tell patients this: put yourself on the list. Sometimes you're not even on the list at all.
Mm-hmm.
Just put it on there as a priority, because it's very, very important. You're tied. Your well-being is tied to the well-being of a lot of people around you that I care about. But if something happens to you, you're not there to take care of them. So please, please. So this has been awesome. I'm definitely going to have you come back again, to
I'd love
talk
to.
more about this. But this has been very, very rich. Please, for those who are watching live or in replay, please share. Sharing is caring. But I have people who are wondering. They're like, "This doc is awesome, man, all the way from Tokyo. Um, how can I connect with her if I want her to come speak at a conference, if it be virtual or in person? How can people connect with you, doc?"
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on social media. I try and post something, almost every day, I think. You can find me at Dr. Minako, DrMinako. I have a website, drminako.com. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and I started a YouTube channel. So you can find me there. Or you can find me at the Tokyo Cancer Clinic, TokyoClinic.jp, because we're in Japan, not .com. And I actually do talk to patients, and I have clients who are all over the world. So, we do Zoom calls, and I like to help coach them, whatever they're struggling with, especially, if they have cancer and they're struggling with diet, they're struggling with, it's that mindset piece, right? Because most of us know what to do. Most of us know what is healthy, right? It's just getting ourselves there. And all of that has to do with just sometimes it helps to speak with like a third person, who's not your family member or,
Right. The more
who,
effective, yeah.
yeah, and being able to talk out, what is on your mind? Why is it that you keep going to that glass of wine at the end of the night, right? And then getting to the inner layers of why you're doing things and understanding your body, understanding your motivation and finding that why, and then going from there often is the right thing to sort of kickstart your healthy habits to lead your way to not get cancer again, or just to live a healthy, rich life.
Yes. Yes, indeed. And I have Miss Lillian. She comments here, Lillian Fujiwara. She says, "Thank you so much. I am from Japan. Found cancer in my lungs, but now cleared with Tagrisso,
Mhm.
but going to do a lobectomy soon."
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you so much for commenting. We wish you all the best with the surgery and pray for speedy recovery for you. Okay?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and again, mindset is really important. So, stay positive, stay in that healing mode, support your body, as it helps heal your body as you're going through your treatments, and feel free to reach out to me on social media and let's chat.
Awesome, awesome. I was going to ask you, how can people get the
The Monday
Monday?
motivations, yeah.
Because that's
So,
good. It's really good.
oh, I'm glad that you like it. If you go to my website, it's Dr. Minako, DRMINAKO.com, and then just, hit subscribe or, contact me. Then I'll put you on the mailing list so that occasionally I'll give some, free webinars, and I always do a weekly Monday motivation mailing list.
I
So
like
if you're
it.
interested,
I
yeah.
like it. And what I'm going to do is at the end of this live, I get all that information and make sure it's posted in the comments so people have access to it even after we're done. Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Minako. This was good. This was good. I took some notes as well. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for those who are watching live. I can't, for some reason, see who's on, but thank you all for joining and those who made comments. And thank you again, Dr. Minako, for coming. We appreciate your presence.
Thank you so much, and keep doing what you do as well. And I hope to someday be able to visit you in person.
I agree. That would be awesome. All right,
All
guys,
right.
that's a wrap. And if you or anyone you know is looking for an awesome, a thorough, and a passionate family physician in the Mansfield, Texas area, I am she. Have a good one, guys. Bye.
Bye bye.